everybody, and welcome to the December 26th Trips and Traps. Andy Serling flying solo for what will be our final Trips and Traps of 2013. And we'll talk about 3 races that we ran here last week, beginning with a race, the 8th race, on December 19th. And in that race, there were 2 speeds. The heavy favorite La Verdad, who ends up winning at just over 1-2, and a returnee off a layoff, the 5-horse Cubicle Queen. Cubicle Queen is fairly easy to see in this race because she gets left. She breaks about, I would say, a length slow after stumbling at the start, and she'll end up getting some separation. And while she's in and among horses here, her rider, an apprentice rider riding here, Mallory Stramberg, ends up back in last here with Cubicle Queen. Now listen, she stumbles at the start. There's nothing a rider can do about that. She was coming off a layoff, but I thought this race for a horse coming off a layoff, and obviously at this point, she just has no chance to win. The heavy favorite's in front. She's going relatively easily, and you could argue that in some ways Cubicle Queen got a great deal out of this race because she was probably a good 6-7 lengths behind as they went about, I don't know, 1/8 a mile or less, and suddenly she makes this huge slingshot move up the lead. And if you look at the chart, she's actually 4th, just 2 lengths behind when they went 1/4 of a mile. And she'll have the lead by 3 lengths when they hit the top of the stretch, and they've gone 1/2 a mile, but it does not really tell the story of what happened here. And Cubicle Queen is a horse that probably went well under, the half was 45-2. She went well under 45, getting her half mile when you consider the early trouble, and actually, she has the lead until the field hits the 8th pole. She was 31-1 in this race. Had not raced since February 17th, and she showed some talent earlier in her career, so it's not as though with some routine improvement from 2 to 3, she can't move up, run by her figures into the mid-80s, and I thought this effort is a lot better than it will appear on paper. She'll appear to be a horse that broke a little slowly, made a middle move, and tired badly, but it just doesn't tell the story that the replay shows, and in my opinion, Cubicle Queen will benefit from this start, as most horses do off long layoffs. She got a really strong workout, you could say, in the middle of the race, and she's going to run a lot better, if not next time, the following start after that. To me, Cubicle Queen is one to watch. We'll go to the next day on December 20th, and we'll take a look at the maiden race, the 6th race. Now, these are not exactly superstar New York State bred maidens, and the winner of this race, actually, Jesse's Giant Dunk, will come from last. The horse I want to look at is the number 5 horse, Here He Fits. First of all, Here He Fits gets in a little bit of trouble at the start. Steadies out between horses. You see Junior Alvarado taking a hold and getting him into good position, goes down to the inside, makes the most of a relatively difficult situation. But Here He Fits, don't forget, has already lost some position. Now, keep in mind, the winner of this race does come from last, so it was a race that kind of melted down. But I think all things considered, if Here He Fits had had a clean break and hadn't had some trouble that he's going to encounter a little bit later, which we'll show you, I don't think it's impossible that Here He Fits could have won this race. And I know these aren't superstars, but you know what? I don't think we're going to have to worry about there being substantial differences to the group next time they meet. And Here He Fits, a horse who finished 6th in this race, who basically, the comment is, raced off the pace inside and lacked a rally. Well, to me, that's not an accurate description of the trip he had. And I think that Here He Fits meets this group next time, and he can easily beat them. Now, keep in mind, he's saving ground, but once again, a situation we show quite frequently, especially on the inner, is horses that get down inside of horses, right on the rail when they hit that break. Quite frequently, these horses will steady out. And as we head forward and we go to the break of the turn, you're going to see Here He Fits moving up inside of horses. But right in here, keep in mind where he is with the 2 horse. He's right off of the 2 horse. As he steadies badly off on the inside, you've now got significant separation between him and the 2. They might be 4 lengths or more apart at this point. He was right inside of him, and he lost that position because he steadied out tightly inside of horses. Now, there's 1 horse behind him. That horse, well, 2, 1 way back. But the horse right behind him, Jesse's Giant Dunk, ends up winning the race. And I understand that Here He Fits saved ground most of the way, but when you consider a little trouble to start, you consider that trouble entering into the turn, and Here He Fits lost some significant ground in this race, and it is far from impossible that had he had a clean trip, and maybe a very good trip, he would have won the race. I would take my chances with Here He Fits if he meets the rest of this field again. I don't think he's really inferior to anybody in this race, and I would even include the winner, Jesse's Giant Dunk, who just gets up in a very short photo. Here He Fits loses by about 3 lengths in there. That was the 6th race on December 20th. Now, one more race we're going to look at in the show was also on December 20th, and that was a maiden race, the ninth race on that card. And we're going to look at a first-time starter named Once a Week. Now, I don't really think too many people missed Once a Week, but I thought it was good to show you this horse so you can realize the kind of race that he ran. You'll actually see in slow motion, Jose Ortiz seems to lose the iron quite briefly. You actually can see him stop and sort of grab it as we were going slowly there. He's in the back of the pack. He's going to actually drop way back and completely out of the picture. Now, the winner, prize taker, came from 8th early. He's the 7 horse right here, actually. But he was never that far back, and he got a very good ride by Guillermo Rodriguez coming up the rail. Whereas you're going to see with Once a Week, he's way out of it. And other horses that were close to the pace ran relatively effectively. The horse who's finishing second right now is a very big price. He'll actually finish second in the race. Once a Week, as you can see, is off the screen. And not only, there he is, he's just come in the screen, is he going to make a big move? He's going to make a big move and make it very wide. So he broke a little slowly. Maybe it was a lack of experience. Lose the rein for a second. Drop well of the race. Make this extended 4-wide run in here. He is 4 wide outside of horses, and he'll actually drift even a little bit farther. You'll be able to see him quite easily as the field is turning for home. He's just cruising by horses. Jose Ortiz is trying the best he can. You can see he's a little bit green. He's getting out on him there. He's out in the good 5 or 6 at that point. And a lot of horses after that kind of trip, and you think the trouble, the run he made to get in the race, the big wide trip, might sort of pack it in, and you see him drift in sometimes. Not Once a Week. Once a Week is continuing to rally and rally strongly out in the middle of the racetrack. And I thought he ran exceptionally well to finish 3rd in this race. He was, I think, a relatively expensive yearling purchase that took a little while to get the races. He didn't take a ton of money in here going off at 4 to 1. You're not getting 4 to 1 on him next time, but you're probably going to bet a horse that's going to be very, very tough to beat in these kind of maiden races. I don't think that this was a particularly weak field. I think it was a decent field, and Once a Week is a horse to watch. He can break his maiden, and he can go on to do perhaps some bigger and better things as we head towards 2014. That does it for the 2013 Trips and Traps. As always, we thank everybody for watching, and we thank you for your help. Trips and Traps at NYRAInc.com. If you have any thoughts on any races in the future, Eric Donovan and I will be back next week.